You know that feeling when you open Instagram for just 5 minutes and suddenly it's 2 a.m. and you're watching a guy explain why pineapple on pizza is actually a government conspiracy? Yeah, that's not an accident. And it's not because you have no self-control either. Here's what nobody tells you about social media. The apps aren't designed to show you what you want to see. They're designed to show you what keeps you scrolling. And there's a massive difference between those two things that's literally rewiring your brain in ways that would make a casino owner jealous. I spent the last 5 years thinking I was just weak-willed, deleting apps and reinstalling them like some kind of digital yo-yo diet. Turns out I was fighting a war I didn't even know I was in. The algorithm isn't just showing you content, it's performing surgery on your attention span, your dopamine system, and your ability to think clearly. And once you see how it works, you can't unsee it. Your brain wasn't built for this. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat in complete silence for 10 minutes without reaching for your phone? Not meditating, not journaling, not even thinking about your to-do list. Just being. If you're like most guys our age, that probably sounds unbearable, but it wasn't always like this. There was a time when boredom was just a part of life, not something to avoid like the plague. But now, boredom feels like panic, and that's by design. See, every time you open TikTok or Instagram, you're giving your brain a little dopamine drip. It's not the content itself. It's the pacing, the unpredictability, the emotional spikes. The algorithm doesn't just show you stuff, it tests you. What keeps your eyes on the screen the longest? What gets your heart rate up just enough to keep you engaged? Is it hustle motivation? Outrageous political takes? Bikini thirst traps? Whatever it is, the algorithm knows. And it doesn't care why you watch, just that you don't stop. And your brain? It adapts. It starts craving that specific rhythm of dopamine hits. Real life starts to feel too slow, too quiet, too real. Conversations drag. Work feels dull. Even rest feels uncomfortable. You're not addicted to content. You're addicted to stimulation. And the more you consume, the less anything else hits the same. Here's the twist. You think you're in control, but you're not. The algorithm isn't showing you what you like. It's showing you what you can't look away from. The science behind your scroll addiction. There's a psychological principle called variable ratio reinforcement. It's the same one used in slot machines. You don't win every time, and in fact, you rarely do. But the randomness of the reward keeps you pulling that lever. The uncertainty is what hooks your brain. Social media platforms have taken this principle and injected it into every scroll, swipe, and tap. Sometimes you see something funny. Sometimes you see something infuriating. Most of the time it's junk, but once in a while, you stumble upon a video or post so engaging, so perfectly tailored to you, that your brain lights up like a Christmas tree. And that rare, unexpected hit, that's what keeps you coming back. But it goes even deeper. The algorithm isn't just trying to hold your attention, it's trying to shape it. Every pause, every replay, every millisecond of engagement is tracked and analyzed. What kind of faces make you stop? What colors? What emotions? Over time, it builds a psychological profile of you, your triggers, your insecurities, your fantasies, and feeds you content that keeps you in a heightened emotional state. Why? Because studies show we stay engaged longer when we're almost satisfied but not quite, when we're mildly anxious, mildly annoyed, mildly aroused. These emotions are sticky. They override logic and keep your nervous system activated. And that activation is monetizable. So instead of content that informs or uplifts, the algorithm starts feeding you content that subtly agitates. Not enough to make you leave, just enough to keep you on edge. You're not happy, you're not angry. You're in this strange emotional limbo that keeps you scrolling, hoping the next hit will feel better than the last. This isn't some conspiracy theory, it's data science. And your brain is the lab rat. When I realized I was hooked, I didn't realize how deep this manipulation ran until one night I found myself furiously typing out a comment on a Reddit thread about zoning laws in a city I've never even visited. I was mad, genuinely mad. Not because I cared about the topic, I didn't, but because some random guy's opinion triggered something in me and I couldn't stop myself from reacting. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't reacting to the post. I was reacting to how I was being trained to react. See, Instagram had figured out that I paused longer on videos about urban design, probably once, maybe twice. And that tiny hesitation was all the signal the algorithm needed to start feeding me more, each piece just a little more provocative than the last. Before I knew it, I was waist-deep in niche debates I had no stake in, but that kept me emotionally activated just enough to stick around. But the real wake-up call came at a family gathering. It was my nephew's birthday. I told myself I'd just check one notification before joining everyone. The next thing I knew, 3 hours had vanished. 3 precious hours I could never get back. I missed the cake. I missed the laughs. I missed being there. All because my brain was locked in a loop, chasing digital dopamine hits I couldn't even remember afterward. I started tracking how I felt before, during, and after scrolling. Before, usually restless or bored. During, momentarily entertained, but strangely tense. After, drained, like I'd eaten too much candy. Overstimulated, but unsatisfied. And that's when I realized something terrifying. I had been conditioned to prefer that overstimulated, anxious feeling. Real life, with its slower pace, awkward silences, and lack of perfectly edited content, started to feel intolerable by comparison. The scariest part? I didn't even notice the shift happening. It was subtle, gradual, but it reshaped my entire relationship with reality. I wasn't using social media, it was using me. And all it took was a perfectly calibrated stream of content and a brain wired for survival to create a trap I walked into willingly. I had become a rat in a maze with no idea who built the walls. How to outsmart the algorithm. So how do you escape a trap that's been engineered to adapt to your every move? You don't fight the algorithm with willpower. You outsmart it. The first step is to retrain your feed, deliberately. Algorithms are reactive. They adjust based on your behavior. That means you can hijack them. Start searching for content that aligns with who you want to become, not what gives you a cheap dopamine hit. Watch videos that educate, challenge, or inspire you. Yes, it'll feel boring at first. Your brain has been overstimulated for years, but give it time. Usually 2 to 3 weeks of intentional engagement will start reshaping your feed. The second step is friction. Add speed bumps between you and the mindless scroll. Turn off all notifications except for calls and texts. Set app timers that lock you out after 15 minutes. Use grayscale mode during certain hours. Put your phone in another room when you work or eat. Make it harder to get that hit, and you'll slowly regain control over your impulses. Third, and this is key, practice doing nothing. Literally nothing. Stand in line without your phone. Sit on a bench and just look around. Let your brain remember what it's like to be unstimulated. Boredom isn't dangerous. In fact, it's where your brain processes emotions, generates ideas, and resets. You've been taught to fear boredom, but boredom is the beginning of clarity. Fourth, track your emotional state. Every time you open a social app, pause and ask, how do I feel right now? Anxious, lonely, avoidant. The more awareness you build, the harder it is for the algorithm to hijack you. Once you become conscious of your patterns, they lose their power. This isn't about deleting everything and going off the grid. It's about shifting from unconscious consumption to intentional use. Because the truth is, social media can be powerful when you're the one in control. Take back control of your mind. Look, I'm not saying delete everything and go live in a cave. Social media can be genuinely useful when you're conscious about how you use it. But right now, most of us are sleepwalking through our digital lives while algorithms reshape our brains without our permission. The crazy thing is, once you start paying attention to this stuff, you can't unsee it. You'll notice when the algorithm is trying to trigger you. You'll catch yourself before you fall into that 3-hour scroll hole. You'll start choosing your mental diet instead of letting it be chosen for you. And here's what nobody talks about. When you break free from algorithmic manipulation, real life starts feeling more interesting again. Conversations become more engaging. Books become readable. You stop needing constant stimulation to feel normal. Your brain is the most sophisticated piece of technology in the known universe. Don't let some app treat it like a lab rat. Drop a comment and tell me, what's one app that you know is messing with your head, but you keep using anyway? And if this helped you see something differently, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because chances are, they're fighting the same invisible battle you are.